Everything changes the moment you learn how to feel it real. The instant you allow the feeling of your wish fulfilled to take root in your imagination, your outer world starts bending to your inner assumption. This is not about hoping. This is not about trying. It is not about pleading with the universe. Nor is it about waiting. It is about becoming. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. And what you are is nothing but the sum total of the assumptions you consistently dwell in. When you learn to feel your desires as already done, you collapse the distance between who you are and what you desire. You merge with the experience before it has appeared in your physical world. This is the secret behind every miraculous shift, every quantum leap, every manifestation that seems too sudden to make logical sense. Because the world doesn't change because you beg it to. It changes because you have changed within. Imagination is the only creative force, and your emotions are its fuel. When you feel something with conviction, you're impressing it upon the deeper layers of consciousness, and what is impressed will always be expressed. This is law. It is impersonal. It doesn't care if you're rich or poor, spiritual or not, experienced or brand new to this. If you feel it real, you will manifest it. It must appear, because consciousness is the only reality. But how do you feel your desires as already done, when everything around you says otherwise? How do you live in the end when your bank account screams lack, your relationships feel empty, your health isn't where it should be? You do it by understanding this one truth. Your outer world is only an echo of your past beliefs. It is not your current reality. Your reality is not what you see. It is what you assume to be true within. Your five senses can deceive you. They can keep you stuck in loops of reaction, cycles of fear, and chains of delay. But the moment you step beyond appearances and claim the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you begin to write a new script for your life. You don't need to wait for permission to feel successful. You don't need to have money in the bank to feel wealthy. You don't need someone to love you first before you feel loved. You must feel it now, in this moment. Because now is the only time there ever is. You must close your eyes, turn away from the world, and saturate your being with the feeling of what it's like to already have it. Not to want it, not to wish it, but to live from it. There is a world that exists within you more real than what your eyes can see. That world is the cause. This one is the effect. So to change anything, you must go within. Not with frustration, but with faith. Faith is not blind belief. It is inner certainty. It is walking by assumption, not by sight. It is saying yes to your desire and refusing to argue for your limitations. To feel your desires as already done, you must become intimate with them. You must ask yourself, if it were true right now that I already had this, how would I feel? And then you must dwell in that feeling. Live in it, sleep in it, walk in it. When doubts arise, and they will, you return again to the feeling. You do not wrestle with the doubt, because doubt only has power when you give it attention. Instead, you shift back into the state of the wish fulfilled. That state becomes your new dwelling place. That state becomes your home. It is not about forcing the feeling. It is about surrendering to it. It is not about faking joy. It is about allowing yourself to naturally rest in the assumption that your desire is already yours. Sometimes it helps to imagine a scene, a short, vivid moment that would naturally follow the fulfillment of your desire. Perhaps it's a conversation with a friend, a message in your inbox, a celebration dinner. Make it short and repeatable, and feel it as though it were happening now, not as an observer, but as a participant. Your subconscious doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. If you persist in the feeling, your world must shift to match it. You are not here to struggle. You are not here to earn your desires. You are here to remember that creation is finished. Everything you could ever desire already exists in the unseen. Your job is not to create it, but to select it, to tune into the frequency of that version of you who already has it, and to live from that place. And the way you tune in is through feeling. Feeling is the secret. Feeling is the bridge. The world around you is constantly trying to distract you, to pull you into a state of lack, to convince you that things are hard, far, and slow. But none of that is real unless you say it is. What you accept as true becomes true for you. What you emotionally dwell on becomes your reality. So stop feeding the old story. Stop speaking about what you don't have, can't do, or fear. Those words carry power. They are affirmations in reverse. If you speak them often enough, you'll start to feel them. And once you feel them, you create them. The fastest way to change your world is to change your inner conversation. Begin to speak as the version of you who already has what you desire. Not someday, not one day, but now. I am wealthy. I am loved. I am successful. These are not lies. They are seeds. And when you water them with belief and feeling, they grow. They take shape in ways you could never logically predict. The how is never your job. Your only job is to feel it done. So each day you return to this practice. You close your eyes and drop into the feeling. You ask, what would I feel right now if it were already done? And then you allow yourself to feel that. You may begin smiling for no reason. You may feel a wave of peace or excitement. That is evidence. That is manifestation in its earliest form. You stay there, even if only for a few moments, and you return as often as you can. Over time, this becomes your dominant state. It becomes your inner atmosphere. And when it does, the world around you reshapes itself to mirror it. You meet new people. You receive unexpected opportunities. Synchronicities align. Paths open. You find yourself walking into the exact life you once only imagined. But it won't feel surprising. It will feel natural, because you've already lived it in your imagination 1,000 times. The world is simply catching up to what you already know. You don't need to wait. You don't need to hustle. You don't need to figure it all out. You need only to decide that it's already yours, and to live from that decision. When you walk in the state of the wish fulfilled, life becomes effortless. You are no longer chasing your desires. You are allowing them to unfold. You are not reacting to the world. You are creating it. There is a version of you that already has it all. That version is not far away. It's a state of consciousness you can step into right now. Not with effort, but with ease. Not with force, but with feeling. You were born with this power. You've simply been taught to forget. But now you remember. Now you reclaim it. You realize that nothing outside of you has power. You are the operant power. And when you feel something with conviction, your world must bend to reflect it. It has no choice. So you practice again, not to force results, but to anchor yourself in a new identity. You're not trying to make anything happen. You are simply accepting what already is. You're becoming familiar with the version of you that already lives the life you want. You start identifying with that person. You speak like them, think like them, react like them, feel like them. Even if the world says otherwise, you don't argue with appearances. You stay loyal to the unseen. You walk with quiet certainty, not because of what you see, but because of what you know to be true within. And there's a beautiful shift that begins to occur. Your inner conversations change. The self-talk that once doubted, feared, or worried becomes calm, confident, and secure. You find yourself waking up feeling excited, even before anything happens, because you're no longer waiting for the manifestation to give you permission to feel good. You already feel it. You already have it. You've already become it. That inner shift is the manifestation. Everything else is just confirmation. You may notice people treat you differently. Opportunities show up that seem random, but they're not random. They are echoes of the inner reality you've stabilized. And the more you stay in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the more natural it becomes. It's no longer something you're trying to do. It's something you are. You've made it your dwelling place. And when something is truly your dwelling place, the world must conform. That's not magic. That's law. But you must persist, not with pressure, but with gentleness. You may have practiced the opposite state for years, feeling unworthy, feeling doubtful, feeling small. But now you are choosing something new. And just like building a muscle, you return to it again and again. You're retraining your nervous system to live in a state of fulfillment, not frustration. You're teaching your body how to feel the future now. And by doing so, you collapse time. What once felt far begins to feel near. What once felt impossible becomes inevitable. You don't wait for the outer world to prove anything to you. You are the proof. You are the cause. So when thoughts of lack arise, you don't fight them. You don't fear them. You simply replace them with a new truth. It is already done, and you return to the feeling. Even for 10 seconds, even for one breath. That's enough. Because every time you do, you are planting a seed. And the more you dwell in that state, the more fertile the ground becomes. The more your new identity takes root. You begin to notice the world isn't against you. It's for you. It's responding to you. It's listening to the vibration you hold within, and it reflects that vibration back to you with precision, not based on your words, but your feelings, not based on your desires, but your assumptions. What you assume to be true, what you feel to be real, becomes your experience. And you hold this power no matter what your past looks like, no matter what your current circumstances show, because none of that matters when you truly feel it done. The past only repeats if you expect it to. But the moment you change your inner expectation, the moment you revise the script you've been rehearsing, you break the cycle. You are not stuck. You are simply rehearsing the wrong state. But you can change that right now. You don't need permission. You don't need evidence. You just need the willingness to feel it before it shows up. Start simple. Imagine hearing someone congratulate you. Imagine the tone in their voice. Imagine the pride in your chest. Imagine what you'd be wearing, where you'd be standing, what your face would look like. It doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to feel natural. When it feels natural, it begins to feel normal. And when it feels normal, it becomes inevitable. You were never meant to live by chance. You were meant to live by choice. And the greatest choice you can ever make is to assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled. Now, not in the future, but in the only place it can ever be real, in this present moment. This is where creation happens. This is where timelines shift. This is where new realities are birthed, not through effort, but through awareness. You are not separate from what you want. You are one with it. And when you realize that, you stop striving. You stop chasing. You stop waiting. You begin allowing. You begin aligning. You begin living from the end, not moving toward it. You feel the joy now. You feel the peace now. You feel the confidence now. And that feeling draws to you all the evidence you once thought you needed before you could feel it. But now you know better. You know that feeling is the first creation. You know that the inner shift precedes the outer movement. You know that if you can feel it, you can live it. And so you do. You walk around with an inner knowing. You smile, not because of what you see, but because of what you've chosen to feel. You radiate a new energy, and the world begins to mirror it back to you. Others may not understand what changed. They may not see the inner work you've done, but you will know. You will know because the outer begins to reflect your inner assumption. And when it does, you won't be surprised. You'll feel like you've been here before, because you have. In your imagination, in your inner world, in your silent moments of feeling it done. And the best part is, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to feel it 24/7. You only need to return to the state again and again, like returning home. You build a habit of being fulfilled before you're fulfilled. You wake up feeling grateful for things not yet seen, knowing they are already yours. And in that state, time becomes irrelevant, because you already have what you used to chase. You begin to move through the world differently. You notice that you don't need reassurance anymore. You no longer seek confirmation outside of yourself, because the confirmation is already alive inside of you. That inner conviction becomes your compass. You walk taller. You speak with clarity. You listen more deeply, not out of fear of missing something, but because you're no longer preoccupied with proving anything. You've already proved it to yourself in the unseen. That's enough. That's more than enough. You start to trust the quiet nudges. You follow the inspired ideas, the gentle urges, the seemingly small impulses that arise from your new state. These are not random thoughts. These are instructions from your higher self, aligning you to the path that matches your chosen identity. You don't need to control how the manifestation unfolds. You only need to remain in the feeling that it's already unfolding perfectly. When you wake up each day, you ask yourself, what would I be feeling right now if it were already mine? And that becomes your mood. That becomes your morning ritual. That becomes your energy signature. Throughout your day, when distractions or fears arise, you gently return, not with judgment, but with awareness. You say, that's not mine anymore, and you shift. You don't argue. You don't beg. You return to the feeling of already having it. That's the only work. Others may still be bound by cause and effect, thinking circumstances need to change before their emotions can shift. But you are free from that trap now. You don't wait for the world to give you permission to feel blessed, powerful, chosen, wealthy, loved. You give it to yourself. And the moment you do, The world starts responding with matching circumstances. This is the reversal of cause and effect. You become the cause and the effect must follow. You stop identifying with lack. You no longer describe your life based on what you don't have. You've outgrown that narrative. You don't need to talk about what's missing, because nothing is missing. You carry the seed of everything within. Your desires are not outside of you. They are already part of you. They are simply waiting for you to claim them, not through effort but through feeling, through living from the assumption that they are already done. And what's beautiful is that once you do this long enough, you begin to forget how it used to be. The old identity, the struggling version of you, becomes a faded memory. You no longer resonate with stories of hardship. You no longer relate to conversations about waiting or hoping or trying. You've embodied a new frequency. And on this new frequency things flow. People sense it. They ask what changed. But it wasn't something you did. It was who you became. You became someone who no longer negotiates with limitation. You stopped making room for doubt. You no longer romanticize struggle. You replaced all of that with ease. You accepted that life is meant to respond to your inner world. You accepted that your desires were given to you not to tease you, but to be fulfilled through you. You made peace with the fact that you are the operant power, and that peace became your foundation. When you look in the mirror now, you see someone who owns their life, not from arrogance, but from quiet certainty. You look into your own eyes and see someone who is no longer striving, but living, no longer seeking, but being. You no longer speak about what's coming. You speak about what's here, because in your consciousness it already is, and that is the only place that matters. You keep returning to this state, not because you're trying to make something happen, but because you love how it feels. You love how it feels to live in alignment. You love how it feels to wake up in gratitude, even before the thing appears. That gratitude is the signal that you've become one with the outcome. That emotion is the evidence of union. That vibration is your ticket to the life you once only imagined. And when the physical manifestation arrives, and it will, you'll recognize it not as a surprise, but as a reflection of the work you did in the unseen, a mirror of your inner shift. You won't be shocked, because you've already lived it 1,000 times in your mind. You'll simply say, of course, and you'll smile, because you finally understand. It was never about waiting. It was always about becoming. You no longer look to the future with anxiety. You look to it with anticipation, with confidence, with joy. You understand now that everything is already complete. There's nothing you need to force, nothing you need to chase. Everything is already created in the field of infinite possibilities, and you select what you want, not with effort, but with attention. You choose with feeling. You claim with inner conviction. And the more you live this way, the more miracles feel normal. The more serendipities feel expected. The more blessings feel like a natural part of your day. You're no longer reacting. You're creating. You're no longer caught up in the old loops of fear and waiting. You're writing new patterns. You're establishing new truths. And these truths are not based on evidence from the past, but on the reality you've accepted in the present. This is your true power. The ability to feel it real. The ability to live from the end. The ability to be so rooted in your inner knowing that no outer circumstance can shake you. You've made a home in the state of the wish fulfilled, and that home is now radiating outward, drawing to you everything that matches it. You're no longer trying to make the world bend to your will. You've already bent your inner world into alignment, and now the outer must follow. So you continue, not as someone who is working toward a future, but as someone who is living from it. You no longer say, I hope it happens. You say, it's already done. That simple shift in language carries power. It signals to your subconscious that the change has already occurred. It signals to your body that it's time to relax and allow. It signals to the field of infinite potential that your choice has been made. You are no longer in indecision. You are no longer toggling between doubt and faith. You have decided, and once the decision is made in consciousness, the rest unfolds automatically. You go through your day differently. You may still wash the dishes, check your emails, drive to work, or go for a walk. But underneath it all, there's a new feeling, a settled knowing, a deep inner ease. You're not doing these things as someone who's waiting for a breakthrough. You're doing them as someone who's already broken through. There's no rush, no anxiety, no urgency, because you know what's yours can never be withheld. You've stopped chasing what you already possess, even if no one else sees it, even if the world hasn't yet caught up. You know what you've created in the unseen. You hold that vision close. You nourish it with your attention. You treat it as real because in the dimension of consciousness it is real. You no longer confuse the visible with the truth. You understand that what's visible is simply a reflection of the old self. The new self is already forming a new reflection, one that's making its way to you through people, events, ideas, and shifts that can seem small, but carry tremendous power. When you live like this, your life becomes filled with ease, not because challenges disappear, but because your state of being is no longer disturbed by them. You've built your foundation on inner certainty. The world can shake, but you don't. The outer may shift, but your inner truth remains. That's the power of living from the end. That's the power of assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Each breath you take becomes sacred. Each moment becomes a chance to dwell in the new you. You are no longer bound by how things appear. You've learned to walk by inner sight. You've trained yourself to feel first, and let the world follow. You don't get pulled into the noise, because the signal within is too strong. That signal is the feeling of already being what you once sought. People around you may notice something different. They may say you seem lighter, more magnetic, more alive. And it's true. You've let go of the heaviness of waiting. You've released the burden of effort. You've replaced it all with embodiment. You no longer carry the desire as something separate from you. You've become one with it. You wear the feeling like a second skin. This feeling becomes the background of everything you do. You sit in silence and feel it. You move through your routines and feel it. You rest in the knowing that your inner world is constantly creating. You don't need to fix anything. You don't need to figure it out. You don't even need to tell anyone about it. You just need to stay loyal to the unseen. That's where the true magic happens. And in that space of loyalty, the feeling becomes so familiar, so natural, that it no longer feels like imagination. It just feels like you. You don't have to try anymore. You've reconditioned your nervous system. You've impressed your subconscious. You've stepped into a new state and made it your home. From that home, all things flow. You speak differently. You move differently. You respond differently. Because you are no longer the version of you who lacks, who waits, who doubts. You are the version who has. You are the one who already received. You are the one who accepted that your desires were always pointing you back to yourself, to your own power, to your own ability to choose a new identity and live from it fully. The world around you becomes more cooperative. You're no longer forcing things. You're magnetizing them. You attract solutions before problems even form. You meet people who are already aligned to the version of you that you've stepped into. You walk into rooms and feel like you belong, not because of the place but because of your presence. You bring the frequency of fulfillment with you wherever you go. It's not arrogance, it's alignment, it's not pretending, it's choosing. You've stopped needing outer conditions to give you permission to feel good. You've made the decision to feel good because it's who you are. You've stopped negotiating with doubt. You've stopped bargaining with your dreams. You simply claim them and feel the truth of them again and again until the world has no choice but to respond. And it always does, in perfect time, in perfect form, in ways that often feel like grace, like flow, like the natural rhythm of life when resistance is dropped. The more you practice this way of living, the more you realize this is how it was always meant to be. Not a life of struggle, but a life of remembering. Remembering that you are the creator, that your imagination is the blueprint, that your feeling is the activator, and your persistence is the bridge. So you remain in this rhythm, no longer a slave to appearances, no longer bouncing from hope to hopelessness. You begin to realize that the outer world is simply a mirror, not a master. It shows you what you've been habitually entertaining in consciousness. And now you deliberately entertain only that which supports your ideal. You refuse to rehearse the old stories, not out of denial, but because you have graduated from them. You don't need to revisit the identity that was built on lack, fear, or delay. That identity no longer fits. You've grown into a new version of self, a self that walks in faith, not fear. You let the old identity fall away naturally, without resistance. You stop fighting the past. You stop arguing with your history. You're no longer interested in reliving yesterday's energy. You only care about the now, about this moment, about the state you're choosing now. And in this moment you choose the end. You choose the outcome. You choose the feeling of already having it. And that choice rewrites everything. It alters your posture, your tone, your decisions, your expectations. You begin expecting life to unfold for you, not as a hope, but as a knowing. This is not delusion. This is creation. This is spiritual precision. You've trained your senses to accept the unseen as more real than the seen. You've shifted your attention from what's lacking to what's finished. You've stopped begging for signs, and you've become the sign. You live now as the evidence of what's possible. You've stopped needing to convince anyone. You've stopped needing to defend your path. The results speak for themselves, and if not now, they will soon, because you've felt it. You've lived it. And what you live in consciousness must express itself in the physical. There is no force that can stop a seed that's been fully accepted by the subconscious mind. It must grow. And so it becomes less about when and more about how deeply you can dwell in the feeling, how naturally you can return to it, how consistently you can say yes to it. It doesn't matter how many times you fall out of state. What matters is how quickly you return. Each return strengthens the bridge. Each return confirms your faith. Each return burns the old beliefs and solidifies the new. You might notice that what used to feel like effort now feels like flow. What used to be hard now feels simple. What once felt distant now feels normal, because you've acclimated to a higher vibration. You've normalized the energy of your fulfilled desire. It no longer feels foreign. It feels like home. And in that feeling of home, your world reshapes. The people in your life begin responding to your new identity, even if they can't name it. They start treating you as the person you've already decided to be. And those who cannot adjust may drift away. But even that doesn't shake you. You trust the unfolding. You trust the replacement. You trust that everything removed is making space for something higher. You don't panic when things shift. You know the ground you stand on is internal, and that inner ground is unshakable. You move slower, not because of laziness, but because you're no longer rushing. Rushing implies it's not already done. You've let go of that urgency. You've replaced it with certainty. You're no longer building from lack. You're building from completion. The outer world begins to mirror your new pace, your new power, your new peace. Doors open that logic couldn't force. People show up who match your energy. Solutions arise that require no struggle. And it all feels easy, not because life changed, but because you did. You understand now that every desire carries within it the instructions for its fulfillment. You don't have to figure it out. You only have to assume its reality and live from it. The path appears as you walk it. The answers unfold as you need them. The bridge of incidents becomes clear only once you step into the new state. You're no longer waiting for the evidence. You are the evidence. And still you return to the feeling, not because something is missing, but because it's your new home. You sit quietly and breathe, and the feeling rises. The inner scene plays out again, and you smile. Not because you need to convince yourself, but because you've already convinced your inner world. It is done. It is finished. You are now living in that knowing. So you walk through your life as if the world is catching up to your inner truth. You no longer check your progress with impatience. You no longer ask, when will it come? Because the feeling within already assures you, it's here. You don't need to see the full picture right away. You trust the unfolding like a flower. Trust the sun. You trust your state more than the sight of your eyes. You live from the end, and the end is sweet. The end is whole. The end is complete. And so are you. You begin to see signs. Not because you searched for them, but because your inner alignment makes them inevitable. You hear someone speak a sentence that matches your inner scene. You stumble on a number, a name, a symbol that mirrors your assumption. But you don't obsess over signs. You don't worship the signs. You understand their reflections, not causes. The cause is always the feeling you've embodied. The cause is always your inner state. And you've become loyal to that state above all else. You keep practicing this divine act of inner selection. You choose the scene. You choose the outcome. You choose the tone of your inner voice. And more importantly, you choose how you feel right now. Not based on the world, but based on the reality you've accepted within. You've let the outer world be a shadow, not the source. You don't react to shadows. You direct them by turning toward the light within. And as days go by, you notice you don't even remember the old doubts. They feel distant, foreign, like a past life. You've become someone new, not by adding anything, but by subtracting every idea that said you couldn't be what you now are. You've shed the version of yourself that thought they had to fight, compete, and suffer. You've stopped trying to earn what was always already yours. Now when you close your eyes, you feel calm. You feel free. You feel rich. You feel chosen. You feel loved. You feel like someone who belongs in their dream life because you are already living it within. The outer world is simply catching up. The momentum is already in motion. The momentum of your new vibration is too strong to be reversed. You don't need to maintain it through force. You simply return to it through feeling. And every time you do, the outer bends a little more in your favor. You can feel it coming. But more than that, you can feel it here. You no longer try to possess the dream. You've merged with it. There's nothing left to chase. There's only alignment. And alignment feels like clarity. It feels like peace. It feels like, of course it's working. Of course it's done. Of course I'm already living it. And in that energy you rest, not passively, but confidently. You walk down the street with quiet assurance. You sit at your desk with intention. You meet people without seeking validation. You speak with power, not noise. You embody the truth that feeling is first, that emotion is creation, that your state is the doorway, and you pass through it every time you choose the feeling of already having it. Even your setbacks feel different now. You no longer spiral into fear. You simply observe. You reset. You re-enter the state. You don't make meaning out of temporary appearances. You've learned to stabilize your inner world regardless of outer fluctuations. That's mastery. That's sovereignty. That's true creation. The version of you who lives in their highest timeline is not far away. That version is here now, within you, ready to be felt, ready to be lived, ready to be expressed. And all it takes is a decision to dwell in the state, to feel it now, to assume it's already done, and to trust the process of unfolding. So now you have a choice, not tomorrow, not someday, now. You can continue living by sight, waiting for the world to give you permission to feel fulfilled. Or you can rise. You can stand in your power. You can enter the feeling of already having it, and never leave. You can reject the noise of doubt, and anchor yourself in the only truth that matters. It is already done. This is not a performance. This is not a trick. This is a return to your natural state, where everything you could ever want is already yours in the realm of consciousness. You are not chasing miracles. You are the miracle. You are not waiting for signs. You are the sign. You are not hoping. You are declaring. And what you declare with conviction becomes your experience. The old story ends here. The old self dissolves here. From this moment on, you walk, breathe, and exist as the version of you who already has it. Not with ego, but with embodiment. Not with fear, but with faith. Not with force, but with the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am. I know what's mine. And I know that it's done. Let that be your foundation. Let that be your reality. And watch how the universe rearranges itself to reflect the power of your assumption. Now feel it as real. And don't let go. Because everything is responding to you.